Hey, howdy, hey, gentlemen and gentle lady folk. This is Hawkeye or Hot Guy here.
Mr. Hewitt.
And I'm Red King.
And this is episode 3 of Comics, etc.
As you know, in this segment we talk about, comics. Today we have Red King with us for a very special episode. We'll tell you why it's special later. But, for now, why don't we get this ball rolling with our first review!
Hey there, everybody. I'm making a guest appearance on this one for today. So I've always been a big Villains fan, and villains don't really get their own comics, so it's always great for me to be able to pick up one where they actually bring the villain into the starring role and really give them the entire story. You get to see everything from their perspective on how they think and how they react to it, and Magneto was a fantastic choice. He is one of those mutants where he is constantly seen all the time and regularly used in a lot of X-Men or as a main antagonist for a lot of things, but seeing him in his own story and seeing how he behaves and what he thinks the whole time is quite amazing, especially after, his powers being diminished in previous issues and everything like that. He is such a monument to his mutant race that even in a diminished state, he's still extremely powerful. He's very smart. He knows exactly what he's doing. This whole issue is about using new resources just to, further his goals in enhancing mutant kind, even though he is barely getting through things. And you get to see his strengths and his weaknesses in this, and it's really great because of that. The art style in this is also fantastic. It really emphasizes the way he looks, and personalities of everyone is fantastic as well. Me personally, because of how much I really enjoyed this is a 9 out of 10 for me.
Alright, so for my first review, I'm going to be going over Thunderbolts, now on issue 27. Now they're going through a new arc. It's called Punisher versus the Thunderbolts. Now, if you've been following this series, you're going to notice that this is something that they've kind of been alluding to a lot. But I'll get to that in a little bit. Let's go over the basics. Writing, it's pretty decent. It's pretty on par with all the Thunderbolts. It's nothing too amazing. And the characters seem pretty accurate, except for the Punisher. The Punisher in this does not really seem very Punisher-y. I'm seeing a lot of different Punishers out in the universe right now, so it's kind of difficult to get a coherent feel on the character. But I digress. The art is really good. Maybe not the best. There's still spots when some of the characters don't have a neck for some reason, and it's kind of off-putting. But for the most part, it's pretty good. Story right now looks like it's going to be good. This arc looks like it's going to be very promising. But the way they went with this arc, if you've been following the series, you're going to be a little confused. You're going to be like, oh, really? They went with that? If you're not really keeping up with it and you're picking it up now, then you're going to be perfectly fine. I give this a rating of 7 out of 10. I recommend looking at it. If you like it, pick it up and keep picking it up, because I currently really enjoy the series.
First review I'm going to do today is for Marvel's comic Black Widow. Currently, Black Widow is being written by Nathan Edmondson and drawn by Phil Noto, and I've been loving the series. As opposed to the usual way that Marvel goes about their series, where there's, arc after arc after arc, Black Widow has been more of a Adventure of the Week type thing, where every week we get a new villain, we get a new insight into Natasha's mindset. Overall, I think it's actually been doing really well. Normally, that kind of setup can lend itself to sort of being incoherent and not really giving you an overall picture of what the series is about. But in this case, it really makes sense given her spy background. She doesn't have really a stable life, so her kind of jumping from mission to mission to mission makes for a really good read. This issue specifically, you can see on the cover, it's not just the Black Widow, it is also the Winter Soldier. He does make a cameo in here, which is one of the things that I really loved about this issue, because Winter Soldier is one of my favorite characters of all time. I think Bucky Barnes is infinitely interesting. I loved his run. I think it was Brubaker who did that run. It was fantastic. We got to see more of Black Widow's handler, Isaiah, and I think he's been a great addition to this cast. He makes for a really good foil to Black Widow, because she kind of just floats her way through life, but Isaiah keeps her grounded. Although Isaiah has gotten into a little bit of trouble in this issue, actually, so hopefully that propels us into a nice little contained arc, but at the same time I hope nothing bad happens to him, because he's been one of my favorite parts of this whole story. Phil Noto's style is really to die for. The art just does a really good job of giving it that sort of spy feel, If you have the time, look up Phil Noto's personal Tumblr. All of his stuff is set in sort of that 60s, 70s period. He does a lot of characters, classic Avengers characters in that time period, and it's because his art style fits so well for it. Everyone always looks very regal, very professional, very amazing. Everyone looks like a shiny golden god, and it's amazing. So overall, I actually gave the issue an 8.5 out of 10. I thought it was great, quick, it's snappy, it's a good read. I say you should pick it up every week.
Second choice this week is Moon Knight. Like I said, I really into villains, but he is kind of that anti-hero. And that's also something I really enjoy. Moon Knight is really good because he's kind of got that Batman-esque feel. His story is kind of more interesting because it's still on the mystical side while he's still doing things on a physical plane. His primary goal is to protect travelers at night. And that's quite unique in my mind because usually when there's like gods and goddesses involved, like they're very direct and they're just like, I'm gonna destroy some people. But his is very centered on innocent people. Like, art style is also really cool. It really emphasizes the action of it and how things work and how he fights. For this issue as well, I would also give this a 9 out of 10.
Next on my agenda is Rat Queens from Image Comics. I love this series. This is a really, really good series. If you don't know the premise, it's pretty much 4 adventurers going through a fantasy realm, doing adventuring stuff. Now, let me get to some finer points. I have, first, the writing is amazing. Everything's really fun, but has a serious undertone like, oh, they're in the middle of battle. Oh, joke, joke, joke. Oh, someone just got hit with something. And they do treat it like a serious thing. But the hilarity pretty much never stops. You're never looking at it going like, oh my god, this is so boring. It's always fun, always amazing. The art is awesome. The art can go from like beautiful at one moment to really gory and hardcore to just kind of really basic but fun. It's colorful, it's nice, it's very fantasy, awesome. The story so far, excellent. It can only go up, which is amazing because it was already very high up. I recommend picking it up if you are at all interested in fantasy realms. This entire comic book reminds me of like my own D&D adventures whenever I play. Just always trying to do what we're supposed to, but never actually getting it done. If you don't really like fantasy realm, then I recommend looking at it, just kind of seeing if you like it. If you like it, pick it up. This gets an 8 out of 10 for me.
Alright, and the next issue that I'm going to be reviewing is Green Arrow number 33 by Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino. I'd like to say right off the bat, Andrea Sorrentino's art, kind of get a little feel for it right here with the dragon and everything. It's really amazing because it manages to have that sort of like quintessential comic book style, but it's very visceral. Like you're watching it, and the thing he does with the panels, it really pulls you in. Like for instance, one of Green Arrow's enemies, Count Vertigo, who is in this issue. His abilities, are the sonic disruptors. They mess with your sense of balance, the vertigo, etc. And when that happens, she kind of jumbles the panels up, so that way you're getting that kind of feeling as Green Arrow's getting. And I think that sort of marriage between plot and art is one of the things that's been amazing about this series since Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino got on it. Plot-wise, we're seeing Green Arrow finally come back home. He's been dealing with the Outsiders for the last couple of issues, and now he's got to deal with getting his house in order effectively. His city has been overrun by Richard Dragon, and Dragon is recruiting a bunch of his rogues gallery, which I kind of liked seeing, him getting the old team back together. Green Arrow has to, try to stop him from taking over the city, although Dragon is already, by and large, taking it over, as well as abducted one of Green Arrow's old allies, and endangered the lives of some of his new ones. So, pretty dicey stuff here. But we also see the reappearance of a character, Emiko, Green Arrow's sister. I'm really interested to see if she, comes under Green Arrow's tutelage, grows up to be a new Green Arrow. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a great issue. If you're not reading it, you should really pick it up. I gave the issue a 9.5 out of 10. Really fantastic. Green Arrow. Check it out. Alright, and for our last review, we're going to review, as a group, the latest issue of New 52 Futures A, which is issue number 9. We, Mr. Hewitt and I, expressed our opinions, and Red here has caught up as well, so he's going to express his opinions on what's happened to him so far, and then we'll express our feelings on the latest issue.
So, these two had gone and told me that it was an up and down roller coaster of being in a glass box of emotion and hating myself. Issue 0 was phenomenal. Was just so really cool. They set up the story fantastic. So many people died. It was great. It was so good. Then I got to issue 1. Issue 1 was good. And you lost me after that. Life was terrible. I hate Firestorm. Raymond, I hate his face.
Is his flaming face or his regular face?
Both of them.
Both.
I hate them both. It's not even as a jerk. It's like he's like a 10-year-old.
He's like a terrible human being.
He's like a
Equivalent.
terrible human being.
Yeah.
10-year-olds are.
He's a 10-year-old.
He's a 10-year-old. Grifter's story, hated it. So boring. I literally got to that issue in the third one, and I was like, please, just make it end. Just no more. This is the only time I've been interested in Superman, because I hate Superman. Loved how they have Superman set up in this, wearing the mask, and he's kind of scary in this, and I really enjoy it. Really love it. Terry McGinnis. Love Terry McGinnis. Every time I get a chance to see Batman Beyond, they take it away from me. And it's the only reason why I'm keeping coming back for more. But that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I feel
nice.
severely disappointed, but also kind of excited. And I hate myself for it.
I hate you too.
Thank you. I hate you too, Mr. Hewitt.
Now, on
On to the review.
a game changer. Issue number 9.
I know, right?
I was expecting some more of the usual garbage, you know?
I was ready to start, crying in sadness from the sheer amount of how much this hurt my feelings.
The tears started welling up before we even opened the issue, and then we opened it, and...
Yeah.
I don't cry, I just get angry.
So, one of the big issues that we had in our last review, if you don't remember, is the fact that all of these stories had nothing to do with
Nothing
one
at all.
another.
Just a bunch
Nothing
of
at all.
threads just into the
I
universe.
just remembered. Mr. Terrific sucks.
But in this issue, we started seeing a lot more things that actually start tying a lot of these stories together. If you didn't already know, we've been hypothesizing stuff. Well, we've been knowing the truth here about
We know the truth.
that thing.
You're wrong.
Our complaint was just worse, not tying together. Apparently, we just need to hold out for one more, because we're finally starting to see some of the characters actually sync together. It turns out not everyone from Stormwatch is dead, and now they've joined up with Frankenstein and his homies. Looks like Tim Drake wasn't just in the story for nothing. He might be playing a part here, possibly in Terry McGinnis' story.
He was probably one of the best parts of the whole series, though. Just his random, kick someone out of my bar. Wah! And it was the best. And he kicked Raymond's ass, and that's all I cared about.
Oh, right, and they tied Grifter and Slade and 50
Yes.
Sue.
50 Sue.
They tied them together.
Yeah,
to the
Slade!
war, amazingly, and to the events happening now. Because it took, 5 issues for them to explain why Grifter had been abducted and put on an island?
And who it was, and
But
why.
weren't you so engaged
No.
with the story?
No.
As a
They're continuing the somewhat aggravating trend of introducing more plot lines without having summed up any others.
They also continue to end it without you knowing it ended.
Oh.
If you haven't read the series yet, every single issue ends not on a cliffhanger, not with some giant whoa, what's gonna happen next? You turn the page, you're like, oh.
It's over.
Right, it's not even a resolution. Some issues, it's everything gets wrapped up, and then there's a hint of what's to come. No.
It's kind of like they're trying to cop out with one of those, oh, you liked it because you read through it so fast you didn't realize it was over. No. It was painful all the way through, and then when I turned, I'm like, oh, so we're not going to get any resolution? Thank you. That's nice of you.
Mr. Terrific wasn't awful in this issue.
Yes.
Yeah, that's because he had, a very short panel where he didn't talk about himself to such an extent.
He manages to not be a stereotype or use any ridiculous slang in those speeches. I think that's character development. It may also be because he's talking to a robot.
This is true. The robot that doesn't want to be involved.
Yeah,
I like the robot better than him.
Yeah, I kind of want to know what Hal's going to be doing in this.
Right? I'm sorry, Dave, but I can't do that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Terrific, but I can't let you destroy that cyborg.
I am curious to see why that part with Superman and with Tim Drake's girlfriend thing and her criminal father, I'm curious to see how that ties in. Superman is equally confused in the issue.
Yeah.
He's like, why is this happening?
That's kind of refreshing, though, to finally see a character in the series that reflects our vision of what. All right, so as a wrap up, let's kind of see what everyone's thinking as a rating. Guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave the last issue a 5 out of 10. This issue, I'm actually going to give a 7 out of 10. They've reignited my curiosity, whereas before I was just reading it because I had started it and I needed it to not be terrible. Now I actually think, hey, it might not be terrible.
King, your opinions?
I mean, considering the horrible disappointment I went through yesterday reading all of these.
Oh, that's why we
I
made a
was-
binge read.
I just binge read all of them, so I'm all fluxed out.
Right in
But if
a
I'm just
row.
going to focus on this issue, I would have to say 6 out of 10. It was a more intriguing story, seeing the plots come together, which definitely pulled me in a little bit more. Mr. Hewitt?
For me, my last rating of question mark out of what? Actually, there's a new improvement on that. My current rating, due to the improvement of the series, is Ellipses out of. Okay. We're getting there.
Good job.
We're getting there. Don't
Good
go
job.
back. Don't ever go
right.
back.
Don't look back at what you've done. Just go forward.
You can win us, Future Zen. You just have to not suck
Build.
anymore.
You have to keep going. You have to look. Future.
There you go.
Prize about Earth 2.
Oh yeah.
That was something. That was really something.
That was cool.
Totally took me by surprise.
I enjoyed it.
That was a surprise.
It was cool.
It was a surprise.
I loved it. Well, that's been our review. Thank you for tuning in, and if you liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't already, tell all of your friends everything about us.
All of them. He's not kidding. He doesn't mean some of your friends. He means all of them.
Even those people you don't really think are your friends, like the people you're like, I could hang out with them, but they're kind of creepy. Tell them. Tell the creepy friend.
Well, maybe not them.
No, tell everyone.
Tell the creepy friend. He deserves your honesty.
You know what he does.
And, as always, remember who you are, what you are.
Don't go causing any trouble out there in that crazy world.
And always remember, Aquaman doesn't suck.
Yeah, he really does. You don't listen to him. Aquaman is great. He's a hero.
It's funny because it's a joke.
He's a hero.
Bye.
Bye.
And I really do think that could be Brainiac later on.
It's totally Brainiac.
It's not Brainiac.
Only made 2 appearances, but so much better.
Brainiac.